if they're not busy, they create busyness over and over and over again. They're literally in fight or flight 100% of the time. So I thought, what if I could create a tool to help them get out of that? And that tool is Pick Now. Hi, I'm Jeff Munn. Welcome to episode 1 of the Pick Now podcast. I want to accomplish 3 things today. First of all, I want to give you a little intro to me and my background. Second, I want to talk most of the time about this tool that I call Pick Now. And third, I want to give you a sense of where this podcast is going, who the guests are likely to be, what we're going to talk about. And so with that, I want to give you a little intro to me. You know, my name's Jeff Munn. I'm an executive coach. For the last decade, I have worked with founders and leaders on creating what I call extraordinary futures. But what does that actually mean? It means, building a company that they enjoy building, whether they're at the standing phase of the business, right at the beginning, or the scaling, or the selling. Are they aligned? Do they enjoy that process? And one of the things that I hear from founders over and over and over again is that they're overwhelmed, they're exhausted, they're burnt out. They will say, Jeff, I would love to work with you as a coach, but I just don't have time right now. Like, call me next quarter, call me in 6 months. I've got this busy time right now. And once we get through that, then I'll be ready to take a step back and look at these things. And the thing that I've noticed is that time never comes, that there is something in the process of creating and running a business that, at least the way these folks are doing it, is so overwhelming that if they're not busy, they create busyness over and over and over again. They're literally in fight or flight 100% of the time. So I thought, what if I could create a tool to help them get out of that? And that tool is Pick Now. So what is Pick Now? There is something that right now you need to do. It might be several things, but just focus on one thing and bear with me for the moment. It's that thing that it's kind of always in the back of your mind. You've been putting it off. It's kind of overwhelming to even think about it. You keep waiting. You keep thinking, I'll do it when I'm a little more clear. I'll do it when I'm a little more comfortable. Here's the truth. You get clarity, you get comfort by actually doing the thing. You're not looking for clarity, you're just scared. So Pick Now is about taking the next step. If that step is you've known for a while you need to fire your CFO, fire your CFO. Don't think, I can plan it all out and I can figure out how I'm going to talk to the team and I can have the replacement lined up and I can align this perfectly and then roll it out. If you need to fire the CFO, fire the CFO. I was talking to a founder about a month ago, and she described her role as playing 4-dimensional chess, thinking about action, reaction, 4 or 5 layers out in terms of how everything was going to work out before she decided to make a move. And I told her, that doesn't work. When you're in a difficult conversation, if you've ever tried to plan out a difficult conversation, you might be 10 seconds in, 15 seconds in, when something happens that's totally unexpected, a totally different direction, and you adjust on the fly, and you still have the conversation. You have the capacity to do that. So why do we think we can plan it all out in advance when even in a simple conversation we can't? So why do we think in the context of planning a business, we can do that? We can't. What we can do is know the next step. And you know that next step because when you're quiet, it's still there. Know the next step, take it, learn from that next step, and then the step after that shows up. That's the power of Pick Now. It's simple and it compounds. So as I think about Pick Now over the course of my life, and like I said, the words for this term, this tool really just came to me in the past few months. But as I looked back, I recognized I've been doing it all along. And you probably have too. Now, there are decisions that I made early on that are different than the decisions I would make today, but I picked, and then I got information, and then I picked again. And I'll tell you, the first 37 years of my life, the way that I make decisions was, what will fix me? What will finally make me feel like I'm enough? What will make me look good? What will help me be a success as other people have defined success? So things like, how hard do I work in school? What kind of grades do I get? Graduating from college with highest honors, going to law school, not because I really wanted to be a lawyer, but because I wasn't ready to actually get a job after college yet. Getting on the partner track, because that was the place to be, working hard enough so that I was on the partner track. Even my first wife, she looked great on paper, good family, good background, all of that stuff. And we'll get to later on what came of that. But those first 37 years, all through that filter. And even when I started to question things a little bit. So, that path of overachievement led to anxiety and stress and panic attacks and a fair amount of self-medication. And I got this little inkling that maybe meditation would help me. And I was in Chicago during these years, the Chicago Bulls and Phil Jackson winning all these championships. Phil was teaching his players meditation. And I thought maybe I should try that. Maybe that would help me. And it did. But I wasn't doing it because I thought it would be a good thing for my own self-development. I did it to manage the stress and help me achieve more. But over time, that began to work on me. And when I was 37, what I discovered was that I was not happy in my marriage. That for the first time, I was hearing that I should pick something, meaning leaving my wife, that was not going to make me look good, that was not about my own professional achievement, that was not about external appearances and pleasing people. It was about my own truth. And that was a big shift of mine, to shift into this place of picking based on my own truth. And from that point on, I began to choose differently. I certainly didn't totally ignore that overachiever mentality that I had, but more and more I was stepping back and I was choosing things, picking things a little bit differently than I had picked before. And fast forward to 2016, I get laid off from my corporate job at Fidelity Investments on August 2nd, 2016, after a 25 plus year career in the corporate world, law firm lawyer, consultant, executive. And because of the meditation and the things that had led to, I had discovered all these ways to help myself. And I wanted to help other people with the things that I had struggled with. I wanted to be a coach. And in that moment, you would think I would have picked now and said, okay, I'm a coach. This is perfect. I'm all in. And I didn't. What I did instead was I resisted. I tried to find another job within Fidelity. I tried to find jobs outside of Fidelity. I tried to open a consulting business because I didn't believe I was ready. I didn't believe. I knew that I wanted it and I wasn't willing to make the choice. Until it became clear, what I actually noticed was my goal of keeping my options open was actually getting in my way. By going after jobs and going after consulting gigs and having a few coaching conversations, I wasn't doing myself any favors. And the job and the consulting gigs were not panning out. So I decided to go all in on coaching. This was in late 2016. And I would love to tell you that at that moment, all the clients showed up and I lived happily ever after. And that's not what happened. What happened instead was, it became clear to me what I needed to do as a coach. I needed to get a coach. So I hired a coach. I needed to get some kind of framework so that I could figure out how to help people and helping people within a structure, at least for the time being. And so I did that. And then I began to get some clients. And then in working with those clients, I discovered, these are things I can help them with. These are things maybe I can't. Maybe they'd be served better by some other coach. And I started thinking about who I wanted to help. And I got a referral to a founder. This was, at this point, it was 2019. So it was a few years in. And I loved coaching that founder. I loved what he was putting out in the world, the energy that he was bringing in the world, the risks that he was willing to take. And I could help him. And I could help him at a level that a performance coach or some expert in time management couldn't help. I could help him in the context of a single conversation just by shifting the way he was seeing the world. And I started doing that with him and with other founders. And the shifts that I saw in people, it felt amazing. And I was willing to, through that process, own some things in myself that felt true to me that I had been hiding unconsciously. But, I realized going back when I was starting as a coach, I came from this place of like, well, what kind of coach do I think people want to hire? And I'll show up as that person. I literally had one of the most powerful coaches in the world, a guy named Steve Hardison, tell me in a conversation I had with him in 2014, before I ever even started my coaching career, that I was so polished and so smooth that he had no idea who I was. And so I began to claim that. I began to claim some of the more spiritual aspects of my perspective and my way of being in the world. I began to claim some of the things that I had been studying, and things like, I'm a quantum theory geek. I'm a multiverse geek. Like, what can we do with that? It's like, if everything available has already happened, well, how do we get onto the train to the future that we want, as opposed to the future that we don't want? It's already there waiting for us. We just have to find it. Right. And to be able to talk with people about that enthusiastically and create with people from that place enthusiastically, and to own that, I was living more authentically with myself than ever before. And it felt great. And I had clients and it felt amazing. And the thing that I do today over and over and over again isn't about looking good anymore. It's about what feels true, what feels authentic, and sharing that and trusting that the right people are going to find me. And so if you're watching this, you might be one of those right people. And this is the conversation that we're going to have in this podcast. I'm going to be talking with people, maybe people like you, who have done some amazing things, who've created things. Maybe they've built and sold companies. Maybe they've had, some of them have gone through an IPO. And we're going to talk about that journey along the way, that development. How is it that they got to this point? What were the moments where they didn't know how it was going to work out and they did it anyway? And then we're going to talk about the future. So the past is about, hey, tell me the history. Tell me the hard parts. Tell me how you knew. And then what's the next thing? What's the fear you're looking at right now? What's that open door to the airplane where you're figuring out if you're going to jump? So it's going to be a real-time coaching conversation on the one hand, and history learning about what's already happened on the other. And I'm really excited about having these conversations with people. And I'm really hoping that you will join me. So if you liked this conversation, I promise you more to come. Click on subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.